Hey guys, what's up? It's Become from G&A today. So in this video today, I want to quickly talk about whether the 22LR is a good round for self-defense or not. Now the first thing is whether you choose 22LR for your defense round or 22 short or whatever, or if you choose 45 ACP or if you choose 44 mag, the most important thing is for you to train and to practice. And I don't mean practice by just standing in front of a target and just standing there with all the time in the world and being able just to shoot at that static target that's just sitting there still. Your best bet is to be able to shoot while you're moving, even if you're able to just move a little bit, and to be able to shoot at moving targets. Now, I know for a lot of you who go to indoor ranges, who like live in big cities, you just in those ranges, I mean, it's very, very limited on what you can do there. You know, if the skill, the strength, and the mindset of the shooter are not considered as you think about this subject, then 22LR will nearly never be the best defensive round. But there still are even maybe some besides that. But yeah, if you don't consider skill, strength, and mindset of the shooter, then what is there really to consider? I mean, the caliber, yeah, but if you're not considering the skill, strength, and mindset, then you're missing about 80 to 85% of what matters to be able to really have a good self-defense situation. So there's only two things I could think of that regardless of whether it's the skill set, the strength, or the mindset of the shooter, that 22LR still might be a better option is, number one, cost. And I know people are going to say, no, you should never consider cost whenever you're thinking about protecting your life. There's no dollar value you can put on your life, and you're right. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So that's one thing, regardless of skill, strength, or mindset, that the cost of it still is in favor of the 22LR. And the other thing is follow-up shots is still generally going to be better for 99.5% of the people with the 22LR. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So first thing, what's the goal in self-defense? To stop the threat. That's your goal in self-defense, is to stop the threat. And stopping the threat does not necessarily mean that you have to kill that person. That's not what it means. It means to stop them, to stop whatever they're doing, to stop that aggression from coming towards you. So sometimes just even you putting up a fight at all is going to stop that attack. It's like I hear all the time, whenever people attack you, a lot of times they're looking for victims. They're not looking for a fight. And if you put up any kind of a fight, sometimes that's going to stop the attack. Number two, you pulling a gun simply will stop some attacks. Some people will see that and think, okay, this guy means business and he's prepared. I do not want that fight, and they'll head for the hills. Okay, sometimes that might not do it. So it might get to the point where you may actually have to pull the trigger, and of course you never should pull the trigger to just fire off a warning shot. You should never do that. If you're pulling the trigger, it should be to stop the threat directly. But say you miss, okay, you shoot and you miss. Sometimes just the sound of that crack will scare that threat off and will stop the threat. So that's a third way that might stop a threat, where the caliber of the gun doesn't matter whatsoever. Now the fourth thing, the person may go through all of those deterrents and still decide that they want to attack you. And so then in that fourth one, it may be the sound, or it may be the actual force of the round that actually stops them. Okay, if you do decide to use 22LR as your defensive round, you need to make sure that you use the best ammunition possible. So for instance, Mini Mag 36 grain, Mini Mag 40 grain, Velocitor, CCI Velocitor, Aguila Interceptor, all those are good choices. And not only because of the ballistics that's involved, but also because of the reliability of those specific rounds. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a list of pros and cons for using 22LR as a self-defense round. Now, like I said, I don't generally, if I carry, I don't carry 22. This is mainly what I carry right here. This is a Glock 23 40 caliber. Or carry 9mm or even 45 caliber. But typically, when I carry with this 40 cal. I do use centerfire whenever I carry. But I really, and I'm saying all this because I'm really thinking about my wife. She has never liked guns. We've been married for 15 years now, or coming close to 15 years. But recently she told me that she had a dream. And she had a dream that somebody was coming in our front door, and that scared her. It really did. And she told me the next day, she said, I want a gun that I can shoot because all my 9mm she can't operate. So she said, I'd like to have a 22 LR handgun. Of course, she said that in a weak moment because she didn't really mean that. But actually, she told me again a couple of weeks later, have you thought any more about that? And I thought, well, yeah, actually, I've thought a lot about that. So anyways, the reason I'm doing all this is because of my wife. So as I present these pros and these cons, I want you to know I really am coming from an unbiased perspective. In fact, I would like for 22 LR to be a good defensive round. And it may be. But I think it depends on each person. Okay? So as I go through this, you may think I'm in favor of the 22 LR, and then sometimes you may think I'm not. It's because I'm trying to present an unbiased pros and cons list about this. First pro for 22 LR is the handguns that would be using that can come in smaller packages, smaller pistols. If you think about it, for a 45 ACP, that grip is going to have to be pretty wide to be able to accommodate for those rounds. Okay, now a con for the 22 LR, and this is one that's kind of a little bit counterintuitive, that's a little bit backwards. But in a centerfire pistol, you can nearly always have more rounds in a centerfire pistol. And like you may think, well, that, like me, you may think that's weird because, like, okay, the 22 round is so small. Why is it that you can have more rounds in a centerfire where those are way bigger? Well, the problem is it goes to the fact that 22 LR is a rimmed cartridge, and so it makes it hard for it to feed reliably. Now, they do make like double stack 22 LR mags, but they're very rare in handguns, especially. Okay, the next pro for the 22 LR is cost. Now, I know, again, you're going to say cost should not matter. Your life does not have a dollar amount on it. But if you really think about that, it kind of does matter. So that goes to the idea that practice is probably, and training is one of the most important things that you can do to prepare yourself best for a self-defense situation. Okay, think about this for a second. Let's say you, for some reason, you're to the point where you can't protect yourself, okay? Let's say you've been disabled, you've become paralyzed, and you can't protect yourself anymore. And so you have to have somebody else to protect you. And let's say that person is a person who carries guns. Now let's think about that person. Let's say that person has a 22 LR handgun and they have shot 10,000 rounds through their handgun of 22 LR. Okay? Now think about another person who has a 1911 who's shot 50 rounds through his 1911. Who would you rather to protect you in that situation? Okay, and another thing to think about is just the cost of ammunition. Okay, and of course we all understand that. If you're going to get some kind of 45 ACP that's hollow point, that's self-defense ammo, or 40 or 9mm, any of those that are self-defense, you're going to be spending, I mean, at the minimum, you're probably going to be spending a quarter a round, and that's going to be for some cheap stuff. Whereas with 22, if you're using like a mini mag as your defensive round, which would be a decent, good round if you're using 22, you're talking 7-8 cents a round. So we're talking a fourth of the cost. And again, I know you're saying, well, that should not matter. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I would put $100 worth of bullets in my gun if I thought that would make me more protected, but it's not just what's in my gun that needs to be prepared for the self-defense situation. It's the money I need to spend on those cartridges to practice with. So if I'm going to go out and I'm going to go to the range and go practice, I'm not going to be able to shoot a whole bunch of 45 ACP that's hollow points or some type of self-defense ammo. It's just not financially going to be feasible. And I know there's some of you watching who are going to say, I go out and I shoot 500 rounds of 45 ACP every week of my self-defense stuff to make sure I'm prepared. And if you do that, you rock and you're awesome. But I'll let you know you're in like the 0.5% of people in the country. There's not many people who can afford that or anything related to that. They won't be doing that. But if a person can bring, 5 boxes of mini mag, 100 rounds each, have 500 total rounds, and have 30, 35, 40 bucks into that, and to be able to come, yep, I mean, not everybody can still even do that, but there'll be a lot more people who can do that and who can get proficient with their gun that they're going to use in self-defense with that cost of ammunition. Okay, now going back to a con for the 22 LR. One of the cons is a huge one, and it's the simple fact that 22 LR ammunition is not as reliable as centerfire ammunition is. And as I was doing some research and reading forums everywhere and looking at videos, there were some people I saw who said, I've been shooting for 40 years and I've never had a misfire with the 22. And, I don't know. That's kind of hard to believe. Maybe that person has been using the top of the top 22 LR ammunition that whole time. Because, I mean, if you watch my channel, you know I'm a 22 guy. I mean, I've got all kinds of 22 rifles and stuff. I enjoy that. But, yeah, even with stuff that people consider great ammunition, I still have misfires on that ammunition from time to time. And it's because of the way that the round is made. With the centerfire rounds, you have that primer that's right in the center there. It's just a higher quality ignition system than the primer on a 22 LR, which the primer is seated in the rim of that, and sometimes the primer compound doesn't get out into that rim. Sometimes the rim is thicker in places than others, and it makes for a less reliable round. Okay, another pro for the 22 LR as a self-defense is recoil management. Okay, think about this. Just take an average shooter, and take that person out to a range, set up a 12-inch piece of paper, and give them a 1911 with 6 rounds of 45 ACP in it, and give them a Smith & Wesson M&P 22 compact with 6 rounds in it. Tell them to back up 10 yards, tell them to bring up and to shoot as fast as they can. Shoot as fast as they can with that 1911 at that 12-inch piece of paper, and then tell them to shoot the same thing with the 22 LR, 6 rounds as fast as they can at that 12-inch piece of paper. Now, stop for just a second. A lot of people want to project their abilities onto other people, or even more accurately, they want to project their erroneous perceived abilities of themselves onto other people. And so somebody thinks, well, I can shoot a fly off a donkey's rear end at 100 yards with my 1911. Okay, good. If you can do that, you're awesome. But people get in that mindset and they think, or maybe they even can do that, and so they think everybody else should be able to do that. Well, no, most people can't do that. Number one, people don't have, again, they can't afford to get to practice enough to get that good. Maybe if they were in the military or law enforcement where the government pays for their rounds, maybe they can get that good. But most people aren't going to have enough ammunition to get that good. And all kinds of things. Maybe they'll just never be that good because the skill set's just never going to be there. Whatever. But don't project your abilities onto other people. Just think about it from an average shooter shooting like in that situation. Okay. So the obvious thing I think is that if you told the person to shoot that 45 ACP 6 shots as fast as they can to that 12-inch piece of paper, there's going to be rounds all over the place. But if you tell them to do that same thing with the 22, I mean, the muzzle flip is so small that they're going to be able to bring it down and just really get those rounds. Again, they may not be exactly all in there, but I think the potential for there to be more rounds in that piece of paper from that 22 LR is way, way greater. Okay, another thing related to recoil, and this is a pro again for the 22 LR, is, all right, think about you going out and you shooting 500 rounds of, let's say you shoot 357 for your self-defense. Think about going out and shooting 500 rounds in one day of 357. Yeah, you're going to be hurting. I mean, and again, same thing. There's probably some people who do that, but you're going to be hurting if you do that with 500 rounds. So you're going to back off of that. You're not going to shoot 500 rounds of 357 more than likely. But think about going out and shooting that pistol with 22 in it, shooting 500 rounds. Again, it's still not going to be very comfortable, but you can probably make that through pretty easily. And again, the most important thing is practice and knowing how to use that firearm properly, because of shot placement's the most important thing. Okay, now going back to a con now for the 22 LR, is ballistics. And ballistics, obviously, there's going to be no way that the ballistics of a 22 LR is better than that of a 9mm or 40 or 45 ACP or 357 or 44 Magnum or any of that. No way. And I don't think anybody would ever argue that. On ballistics, centerfire stuff, and then again, of course, I see people talking about 25 ACP and 32 ACP. There, you're talking maybe similar to 22LR. But when I'm talking about centerfire, I'm talking about 9, 40, 45, that type of stuff, and maybe even 380. But okay, another con for the 22LR for self-defense is the fact that most 22LR hollow points do not open well. Okay, and what I mean by that is that in that hollow point, whenever it hits, it's supposed to basically splash open and make a wider wound channel. Well, they just don't open well on 22s, and especially whenever they're shot out of a short barrel like this. They just don't have enough time to get up enough velocity before the gases are not pushing them anymore, so they don't ever get going fast enough, and so whenever it hits, there's just not enough energy there for it to open that hollow point. Whereas on a centerfire, yeah, I mean, you can have very, very reliably opening hollow points. Okay, and then the age-old thing about a 22 for self-defense is that a 22LR handgun is better than a knife, and it's better than a stick, and it's definitely better than your fists. It gives you that separation. And it's like active self-protection says, you need that force multiplier. You need something that multiplies what your fists and your open hand skills are able to accomplish. You want something that ups the ante, so to speak. Okay, a con for the 22LR is that 22LR rounds are dirtier rounds. Whenever they fire, just the way they fire, the way they work, it's just a dirtier round than a center fire. And again, if we're just kind of thinking about average shooters here and average people who maybe kind of take care of their firearms but don't really know how to exactly, then that 22LR is going to make their firearms more dirty and make them more susceptible to having certain types of failures. Okay, and then the last, so I don't have any more pros, but one last con for the 22 is that if all you ever train with is a 22LR, you're painting yourself in a corner, so to speak. So you go out on the range, that's all you ever shoot to 22. Basically, you're locked into that. Okay, so let's say you're in a situation where you don't have your 22 handgun with you, or maybe yours has become disabled, and say there's somebody else there, and they have 2 guns, and all they have is an extra 9mm, and say, here, this is all I got, take it. I know that overall, for the most part, I've come to the conclusion that I think 22LR would work fine as a self-defense round. Now, as I said at the very beginning, if you don't consider the skill set, the strength, or the mindset of the shooter, then shooting with a 9mm or 45, you're nearly always going to be better off with. But for all the other reasons that I laid out, I think 22LR could definitely be a good self-defense round and something that you could have confidence in, and something that you would just need to really train and make sure you're good with that, because like everybody says, it's shot placement that matters, where you put that round. So overall, I think the 22LR could be a very good self-defense round. Just make sure you're using a good firearm, make sure you're using good quality ammunition, make sure you practice and train with that a lot so that you're very proficient with that. Those are my thoughts on the idea. Let me know what you think. I'm sure there's a lot of people who disagree with a lot of stuff I've said in here, but I thought most of it made sense to me. So there you go. This is Big Company from GNA Today. Thanks for watching.